Hello and welcome to Laying Technovation. Today we're going to be taking a look at the macro grip stamping unit. Now we offer these units in standard and extended, along with single and double. The standard unit holds up to 245 millimeter and the extended holds up to 355 millimeter, also the size of our largest vise capacity outside of the new Ultra line. Here we're showing you a double extended version on a mobile cart. And on one side we have 45 HRC stamping jaws, and on the other side we have our macro 4-grip stamping jaws used for stamping round stock. Before we get into this whole process, let's take a look at what you see on the table. First and foremost is our foot pedal. Also could be used as a hand pedal. This provides the actuation force to stamp the parts. Next up we have our gauging blocks. Gauging blocks help for you to measure the health of your jaws and whether or not they need to be resharpened. Note, they can be resharpened up to 6 times. Center marking tool. You may not see it from up there. This is attached to your jaws, and when stamped, it is going to leave a center mark which will help with setting up into your vise. We have our oil, which is very easily applied to the top of your jaws, just a very thin line of oil to help with the longevity with regards to the friction when stamping. And we have our round raw stock, which we mentioned earlier, goes right on the macro 4-grip. Following those, we have our hardness tester. This is going to measure whether or not your material is too hard to be stamped. We have a chunk of raw stock, a tape measure, and a macro grip vise, in which case we'll show you once we're through process how it fits on there. The first step in stamping is to make sure that your material isn't too hard for these jaws. We mentioned earlier, these are 45 HRC jaws. We're going to pull out our 45 HRC file, and as long as it marks it, you know that this material is okay and suitable for that hardness of jaws. Step 2 is the measuring. You measure your piece. This is 115 millimeters. Now when measuring it, you're going to take half of this measurement. Half of 115 is 57.5, and that comes over to your workpiece stopper. This is preset at 57.5 so that you know when your workpiece comes on, slide it down. You know when you stamp, you're stamping in the center of this part. So now that the part is in here, there's some adjustments to be made. We're going to use this side. 2 different adjustments. If you have a larger piece, you pull these 2 guides up and the unit can slide back and forth. And then it will slide back down in. And now you're at a happy distance to be able to stamp your part. Now the second adjustment is a little bit different. There's a little wheel here that you need to look at. I don't know if you can see it from up there, but this is a fine-tune knob. And what this does is this allows you to come about an 1/8 inch from stamping the part. We recommend an 1/8 inch because when you stamp, the unit's going to come in and then release. When it releases, it's going to release back to that 1/8 inch. So it is important to not only set these, but also fine-tune adjust. So now we start taking a look at the piece here. Up here we have our bar level, and right here we have a gauge in front of us. When you start stamping, you're going to be watching the needle on this gauge, and when that needle stops, that is when you release your pressure. The second gauge up here is our bar level. Now some people ask, what is the right bar level for this raw stock? And the answer that Laying Technovation will always give is that you need to work your way up. The goal here is to have full tooth insertion as well as witness marks. And you will only be able to determine that by working your way up. If you start too high, you run the risk of snapping jaw teeth. And if you run too low, you may not even make a mark. So today we're going to start at bar level 1. Our piece is in. Everything is set up. Our bar level is 1. I'm going to push this pedal down and I'm going to watch the needle until it stops. Here comes my needle. The needle has now stopped. Release. You can take the unit out and you can take a look. It's barely marking it. And we know that it's going to need a little bit more pressure. So you can take it, bring it back down, set it in, push it tight. And now for the sake of today's training video, we know that this stock requires 3 bar. So this adjustment is made by pulling it out, and you can watch your needle move as you turn it clockwise. And when you know it's set, listen for the click, you're gonna push in, you know that it's set. So we're at 3 bar, our workpiece is in here. We're gonna apply pressure to the pedal again until our needle stops. You can hear there's a little bit more pressure that time. Our needle just stopped, off it goes. Now we can take a look and we can say, okay, you have full tooth insertion ability as well as witness marks. You know right now that this piece has been stamped basically to the ideal fitting for our macro grip vise. The final test here is to put it over in our macro grip vise where it slides in. Now remember your center mark slides in, center mark at 0. And for the sake of this exercise, we're going to do a quarter turn. A quarter turn alone has allowed full tooth insertion into this unit. Now a quarter turn is for the video. Please don't forget there's a Newton meter recommendation on all Lang products that you need to abide by for safety issues and precautions. So now we've taken a look at the macro grip stamping unit. We hope that you have a great day, and if you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you for choosing Lang Technovation.